So I believe she's not here yet, Simon.
I can't see him on the left side. I've sent him the link, so should join us.
Okay, maybe if you want to wait a couple of minutes, and so it's already recording. Don't worry, we will cut off. But whenever you consider, you just go ahead, and we will have the. Oh, sorry, I didn't put my camera on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm on here. So
internet good procedure.
Okay, so for me, we can go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
We are ready for you.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are very happy to have you today for this double workshop of Senior Eco-Nect projects. I am Caroline West, project manager of Senior Eco-Nect, and I am also representing Santé, which is the lead partner of the project. And together with Gisela Garcia Alvarez, managing director of the Galician Health Cluster, we are going to be the moderator of this double workshop. Before introducing the working group, just let me remind you quickly what is Senior Eco-Nect project. So the project Senior Eco-Nect is a Horizon Europe project, and I will take control of the slides. Yes, I am. Perfect. So it is a Horizon Europe project which started in July 2022 and funded for 2 years. The objective of the project is to support the emergence and growth of silver economy ecosystems and to reinforce their efficiency and interconnectivity. And to do so, the project will go through 2 phases. The first one, in which we are now, is to gather information, to prepare and analyze the current state of the art in order to draft recommendations and guidelines to develop innovation ecosystems in silver economy. And the second phase of the project will be about the preparation of joint action plan dealing with emergence and development of silver economy ecosystems to be implemented after the end of the project. The 6 organizations are partners of Senior Eco-Nect project. The lead partner is Santé in Northern France, and we work together with Munster Technological University in Ireland, Slovenian Innovation Hub in Slovenia, Galician Health Cluster, of course, and 2 European networks. The first one is European Platform for Sport and Innovation and European Network of Accessible Tourism. Today's working group aims at gathering information, experience, and feedbacks on 2 different themes. The first part of the workshop will be about ecosystem emergence and animation, because in the project we need to understand what are the mechanisms, the good practices on the ground behind the notion of an ecosystem. And today's discussion will feed the work and the reflection and a guidebook on supporting innovation ecosystems in silver economy. And I leave the floor to Gisela to introduce herself and the second part of the working group.
Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Yes, Caroline mentioned we are one of the stakeholders, partners in this project. I have a very nice bird at my parents' house, so you're going to be chirping. during the whole webinar, but it's a better thing than horns and honks and something like that. So we have nature around. We kind of decided to put these two working groups together because we thought they were really interrelated. In order to create ecosystems, you need stakeholders. So then we thought that during this project, we are also valuing especially the stakeholders who are actually part of the ecosystems and are the one creating the communities of the ecosystems, and the ones that need to feed and feedback actually also to the ecosystems in order to continue to be engaged. So the second part of the workshop, or the second workshop, so to say, of today's webinar would be consisted of a roundtable in which we have 5 speakers that they will give their point of view to the same 2 questions, but from their perspectives of either public investors, private investors, solution providers, users itself, and facilitators as well. So kind of either organizations as cluster, or facilitators could be also, we call them here in Spain, intermediate organizations, which are either industry organizations, patient organizations, any type of clusterizations of entities with a common objective. Because we think it's very important for them to really have their moment to speak, and they are the ones that are going to have to follow up and get engaged to the European project. This European project is it's really a pre-setting for a continuation. So all the members of the European project, I think we are starting to also work together for a future putting up and setting up and implementing an action plan that we're going to propose. So we need all the stakeholders to kind of follow up together. So I will let the floor to Caroline to the first part of the workshop, in which she's going to give a very strong perspective of the ecosystem.
Thank you, Gisela. Let's start the first part of this workshop with the first insight from for the ecosystem part, and it comes from Andy Bleeden, who is a community director of ECH Alliance. ECH Alliance is a global health connector for digital health, and Andy shares his experience with this organization, and in the same time analyzes the concept of an ecosystem. And just a precision, this first intervention has been previously recorded because Andy was not available today. He was flying to or from a meeting, but his intervention was really helpful to understand the notion of ecosystem. So let's hear of him, and of course we will share his contact details if you want to take contact with him afterwards.
Well, good morning. I'm pleased to be able to speak to you today as part of your session for Solar Eco-Nect. My name is Andy Bleeden. I work for the ECH Alliance. Some of you know that as the European Connected Health Alliance. Many of you are involved with some of the project partners there, who are also a sister project to one of the projects we're involved with, funded under the same program called Connected Health. My colleagues there from Eurosante and Galicia will know us as being the ecosystem network that you're part of, and many of you else there will know as well. What the colleagues have asked me to do is talk to you a little bit about what we understand by the concept of ecosystems, to give you a bit of a higher level overview about innovation ecosystems, digital health ecosystems, what they are and what they're not. And I want to do it briefly with you if I can, just to give you a little bit of an high level sort of information. I've got a couple of slides. They're not very complicated, don't worry. And what I hope they do is get you to think about some of the ways in which you can use ecosystems and our network of ecosystems to help convene, connect, amplify, and also accelerate digital health innovation, especially in the field of silver technology. So just a little bit about who we are. We're the ECH Alliance are a member organisation. very, very large member organisation. We've been around since probably about the last 12 years. We have in our membership around 1,000 member organisations and about 23,000 people in our wider community that we bring together in a series of what we call international digital health ecosystems. We're only working in the field of health. And these I shall talk about in detail in the coming slides. By member organisation, what that means is we're made up of, as I said, about 1,000 organisations. The vast majority of those are policymakers, they're research organisations like yourselves, they're also health care providers, healthcare professionals, government ministries, economic development organisations, patient groups, networks and associations, some companies as well. So all those stakeholders you've got in health all coming together within ecosystems that are spread across the globe, from Argentina to Australia. And many of you are part of those ecosystems, as I said just now. We also run events, we get involved with European projects like this one. Many of you have also been in contact with us with that. The types of organisations that join us, you can see here. We've got organisations that are different in terms of their status. So you can see here we've got some companies, we've got digital health agencies, we've got hospital organisations, hospital trusts, economic development organisations, government bodies. They're all different and they're from all over the globe. That's a really great community to have. People usually join us because they want to be able to network, want to promote their organisation, get involved with events like this, make direct connections, access our ecosystems, but also because they want to make those connections. And as a global health connector, ECH Alliance fulfill that role. We bring these organisations together, as I said, in ecosystems. Now, many of you have seen probably concepts of ecosystems that are sometimes a bit complex, and they don't need to be. I've been involved with ecosystems since I joined the first one created by ECH Alliance 12 years ago in Manchester in the UK. I joined from the public sector because I wanted to access innovation and innovators and researchers. And that model of an ecosystem allowed me to connect up with all the people you can see in the diagram here, whether they be companies or funders or education research people or policymakers, and use them to match need and solutions. Now, there's lots of concepts about ecosystems on the internet. There's lots of concepts of talking about ecosystem 2.4 and ecosystem 4. I usually give them a wide berth because I see ecosystems as being permanent, multi-stakeholder gatherings around digital health that are there to match need and solution on common problems, whether it be diabetes or dementia. Saying, for instance, in Galicia, what's the need like for someone who's got a recent diagnosis of depression? What does their family need? What do the health and social care people need? What do policymakers need to understand? What do researchers need to understand? Many of those organisations don't talk to each other because they work in silos. What our ecosystems do is help to break down those silos and bring those people together. Then we flip that on its head and say, okay, in Galicia or in Lille, what does good look like in the field of mental health or working around depression? Where is there a decent hospital practice? Where is there organisations that are coming together and fulfilling innovative work around working with young people, say, for instance, around managing their depression? Where's a hospital surgery providing radical care? Again, those organisations tend to work in silos. They don't speak to each other. So again, we connect them up. And then we do something transformational because we bring need and solution together in a collaborative workspace and say, let's see where you can collaborate together. Let's also see as well, this is really crucial, where can we get some economic growth from this? Because many people see health as a burden, as a cost, as a hindrance. we actually see it as a great economic opportunity, because many of the countries that we work with, health is the largest level of expenditure, probably behind defence and education, maybe more. And you either see that as a great burden, or you see it as a great opportunity to create jobs and get businesses innovating. We see it as the latter. We've also got, because we've got this international network, the benefit of bringing a multiplier effect in from other ecosystems, other countries, where they may have done things differently than you. Because in digital health, we have a great problem because we keep reinventing the wheel. We always want to try and do our own little way. And we saw that in the pandemic. Everybody had to have a national or regional COVID strategy. We didn't need one. We needed to learn what other people had done. And where we succeeded with the pandemic, we did exactly just that. So we bring in best practice where we can from other ecosystems. So we get around that not invented here syndrome. And we've created a network of these ecosystems all over the globe, as you can see here, ranging from Argentina to Australia. We've already this year opened up some more. So this is already out of date, even in January 2023, because we've just opened up a brand new ecosystem in Florida in the US and in Massachusetts, and we're shortly to open up more within India, Africa, and we hope more across Europe, such as Luxembourg and hopefully Sweden as well, because during the presidency it's a great opportunity to get engaged. But as you can see, there are many of the ecosystems in front of you here that you probably already know and partner with, whether it's through projects or through exchanges. This international network of ecosystem is great for collaboration. So what we've also done is set up a series of thematic ecosystems on the areas you can see in front of you, whether it be mental health or incontinence. We will then use these, and we have been using these over the last 2 years, such as in areas like skills for health, addressing major global challenges around the gaps in skills in digital health, and seeing where we can bring in best practice, not just in one ecosystem, but in many. So these are led by our ecosystems, but they're cross-border, built in by design. So we can say with skills for health, led by our Danish and our Australian ecosystem, where's the need? Where's best practice, not just from one or two ecosystems, but across the 70 that you've seen in front of you just then. So that's a little bit of a talk through about what we see as the role for digital health ecosystems. I'm going to hand you back now, and you're going to carry on with the conversation with the rest of the panel you've got in front of you. Thank you very much. Oh, I should say, if you want to contact me, my name is Andy Bleeden. I'm at andy@echalliance.com.
Thank you, Andy, and I hope you are flying safely. Our second speaker is my colleague Simon Benot. Simon is a sponsorship and business developer at Eurasanté, and he will tell us the story of Eurasanté's business park and ecosystem development. I think this story will give a good example of what Andy has explained in terms of breaking down silos and create economic growth. And do not hesitate to share questions and comments just after Simon's presentation.
Yes, now you can hear me. Great. Thank you, Caroline. Good afternoon, everyone. So yes, today we have, I think, 15 minutes together. So I would like to share with you, firstly, the history of the Lille Hospital University campus, then the creation of the Lille Eurasanté Health Park, and introduce you to the history, but also where we are now and where we are up to. What is our role as an economic development agency, a cluster, and the animator of the whole campus and the whole region. So as being said by Caroline, do not hesitate to ask questions during the presentation or after. I have planned an open discussion in the end to share questions if you want. So if we can move on to the next slide, may I? Yes, I can. So everything started firstly with the creation of the University Hospital campus in Lille. So just to share with you the timeline, I hope you can all see the slide properly. Everything started in the 20s after the First World War, when well, the destruction of the First World War has given Lille. Lille is in the northern France, so just so you know, it has given us a lot of ambition for the new city, the renewal of the city. And in the 20s, we had a new mayor, very young. He was 35. His name was Roger Saint-Longros. He met Oscar Lambré, who was the current VP of the Lille hospitals. Every hospitals were in the city of Lille. They were spread all around the city. And Oscar Lambré has the ambition of creating a big hub, a big campus called the Cité Hospitalière in French, so we can translate it as hospital city or hospital campus. The aim was to firstly to gather all the hospitals which were spread all over the city, but also to include in this logic the University of Medicine, right? So he managed to convince the dean and the rector to join this project. These guys were Mr. Châtelet and Mr. Dubois. So in the end of the 20s, in 1929, this vision has been voted as a project, and they chose 60 hectares of land in the southwest of Lille, a bit outside the historic city, so that they could have space to grow. So the construction has begun, and then the World War II arrived. So it stopped the construction of this ambitious project, but it has been finished in the 50s as a new professor has been nominated to achieve the hospital city alongside with other people from the city and from the university. So we can see that this project has been achieved because health has always been a public subject. So the city has been involved, whereas the hospitals and also the university were here to train the caregivers, but also to gather researchers on the health improvements. So it led to the 50s, where the university has opened and the hospitals. We can say that we have been very good visionary on this side of France, because in 1958 the government has voted what we call the Debré reform, which aimed to create university hospitals all over France. So we were the first to initiate this logic, and up to now, Lille has managed to make this dream come true, if I can say so, because every hospitals who were inside the city are now on the campus. So we account seven hospitals on the Lille University campus, one for each part of the body. So the head or the neurology, one for digestive, another for reeducation, so for the arms and legs, another for the heart, as the lung. There is also another center for cancer. And I'm all right. No, I forgot the psychiatric one. So we are now in we were in my story in the 1996, and so the mid-90s has also been the creation of the Eurasante agency and the Eurasante Health Business Park. So I wanted to introduce you a bit to our missions and history, and then we will move on with what has the Eurasante Health Business Park become, and what we do on it. So after uniting the university and the caregivers and the research, the Lille Hospital University saw that it needed another actor to make the ecosystem very collaborative and efficient, so that innovation from the research could benefit to the economic side, so that training could benefit from inputs of the companies, so that companies could meet caregivers to have insight on their products or services. And the hospital decided to create Eurasante as a bridge from the Lille University Hospital to the economical world. I hope I'm clear on that. So our first mission has been to help researchers from Lille University Hospital to create companies. So when they had a good idea or when they found a good technology inside their laboratories, they could come and meet us, and we will help them to build companies. So we have now 3 incubators. The main one is for healthcare, and we have 2 other one. One is for aging, where Caroline works, and another is for nutrition and food. So we basically help entrepreneurs to develop their projects, but we also have consultants to help them raise funds, to help them test their products with the users. We have also several services. And so with these services, we are now helping every companies to connect with the ecosystem, but also to develop, so they can call us and benefit from our consultants' services. We also assist foreign companies to come on the Eurasante Bio Business Park or in the region. So basically, we help everyone to develop their projects and to come in Lille or inside the region. Our goal is to contribute to the regional development by creating jobs and wealth in the territory, as well as improving prevention and care. So the Lille Hospital University is our main funders, with the metropolitan area of Lille, other cities, and association, universities, and private sponsors, because they can benefit from our, private companies can benefit from our network, from our insights on the markets. So they are very interested in working with an organization which is at the center, at the crossroad of the ecosystem. So just to introduce you to the key dates and the steps of development of the Eurasante Bio Business Park. So as being said, in the mid-90s, Lille University Hospital wanted to extend this vision and to include the companies, associations, and schools. So they created with us a campus, which is the Eurasante Bio Business Park. In 1996, we had our first company location, so it is called Diagast. They produce a blood test sample. And we also had to build a building to host projects, carriers and startup or innovative researchers. So we developed the bio incubator, which is 2,000 square meters, and which offers services so that you can have a mail address to create your company. You can have offices where everything is included so that you can focus on your project. And laboratories, of course, because we host biotech projects as well as medtech projects. So this is the building which can give the kickstart for everyone who have a project. But we also have lands and offices or buildings with laboratories all along the campus. In 2005, we noticed that we needed to create also a framework for networking by organizing events and for contributing to cross collaboration to improve project initiating, innovation. So we created competitiveness clusters. His aim is to organize events, but also to claim for fundings up to the governments so that companies can develop their projects and experiment faster. So yes, at this date, 70 companies were on site. So these are the main topics I should introduce you to. And also we now have a good amount of projects flowing on the Eurasante Bio Business Park. It depends on years, but it's between 20 and 30 companies coming to us every year so that they can collaborate with the current companies implemented, with the hospitals, or they can also hire people from the university. We also have a new project in 2024. We will open new buildings as the bio incubator is full. And we want also a building which is more oriented to host and to be the crossroads of all the actors on site. So we will host events in this building, and it's called the Eurasante Hub. So just a quick overview on the key figures. We have now 200 organizations on site. It can be schools. We have 8 paramedical schools who train physiotherapists, nurses. We also have biotech companies, medtech companies, e-health companies, nutrition companies, the hospitals, and 50 research laboratories. So you can see that there is now these big ecosystems where everyone can benefit from each other. 40,000 people in total are coming on site every day. This is a picture of what as the site becomes. So on the north part, you can see the big infrastructures of the hospitals, and just here the Eurasante Bio Business Park, which is the historical part here on West, the one which is still under development with land to be built, and the eastern part which is full also. So you see there is this opportunity to grow inside the Eurasante Business Park. You can start with the Bio incubator, and then you can move to, let's say, 100 square meters, and then up to a big building of 500, 1,000, and so on. And we are the catalyzer of this. We know every availability, and we can help company to define their needs, to find funds for their real estate, and to grow on the campus. So I will say what is key. Maybe we can stop the presentation, but what is key now inside this campus or inside the ecosystem is what we can provide as a network, as a cluster, as a development agency, by organizing events. You are all familiar with the power of network. What company can find is cross collaboration, experience sharing from successful entrepreneurs to beginners, but also services from experts who can advise people on what to do on this market, what to do on this stage of development, and how we can help to build a roadmap. I have also noticed a few new trends because we have been built, you know, as a park, as a business park, and I noticed that since COVID, the world is a bit changing, also on real estate and offices, and companies and employees are more and more willing to have to cross the functions of what we can find on real estate. So maybe the next challenge of this site is to have more housing on site, to have more services to provide, you know, because everybody is now telecommuting, and the challenge for companies is to attract them inside the offices. I also noticed that more and more companies are willing to mutualize, to share the services they consume. The world is moving faster and faster, so they ask us if we could build a platform so that they can share their needs, they can share what they can offer, and they can connect to each other. For example, clean rooms, for example, I don't know, a laboratory waste management that they can mutualize, and also better connection opportunities. So I think that's all I have to share. I hope it will help you, and if you have any question, feel free to ask them. I will hopefully answer to them.
Thank you, Simon. You now have the very full story of Eurasante and how it was built step by step, and initiatives after initiatives, and you understand that Eurasante's team is still listening the new needs of companies, of laboratories, hospitals, and etc., and to adapt and provide new services all the time. Do we have questions or comments at this point?
The first one is always the harder. Well, maybe I have been clear.
Okay, so.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Simon. And
you,
Third and last speaker of this first working group on ecosystem is Ivor Ambrose, Managing Director from the European Network for Accessible Tourism. Thank you, Ivor, for sharing your experience as a European network on ecosystem.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you as well to Simon and our previous speaker, Andy, from his remote position there. I do have a comment, actually, Simon. I was very impressed by all the work that's gone into the background of Eurosante, which I had no idea. So it was really good to get that and to understand just the extent of your ecosystem. We are the European Network for Accessible Tourism. So we're perhaps a little bit in the past. We started 12 years ago, as Andy was saying, in the past, in the sense that we use the word network rather than ecosystem. But I've realized today we are actually an ecosystem as well, that we could call ourselves an ecosystem, because interestingly, the European Network for Accessible Tourism was set up really to bring together a lot of organizations that had a lot in common, a driving interest in improving the quality of tourism and making it accessible for everyone. But we call ourselves a multi-stakeholder network because we have many different kinds of actors involved in our network and members. So I'll take you just through a few slides and talk you through what we do and what is our connection to the senior economy in particular, and to some of the work that goes on in other ecosystems to do with health and to do with welfare and to do with quality of life in general, I would say. So just to mention that we started as a European project, in fact, which was intending to what we call mainstream accessibility into the tourism sector. So we received some funding to set up the network in 2006. And then in 2008, we became a non-profit association based in Brussels. But we have members now right around the world. So we are Europe-based, but we have extended our reach to companies, public sector organizations, NGOs, universities, and so on, research centers, and professionals around the world. This is our mission: to make European tourism destinations, products, and services accessible to all travelers, and to promote accessible tourism around the world. And hidden in the word accessible is a lot more than just meaning that you can reach a place or that it's going to be available to people. We're talking about accessibility in terms of the inclusion in society of many groups of people who have been left behind or left out, especially by the tourism sector. They've been disregarded, perhaps, because some of their needs are difficult to fulfill. And this is part of the mission that we are on and have been on since 2008, to try to make tourism available and suitable for everyone, so that people can enjoy tourism. Everyone should have the choice and the possibility to take part in tourism, but also so that the businesses themselves can be guaranteed a future as a sustainable business, sustainable also from the point of view of economics, because as we see the population getting older, the demands and the needs of people with disabilities or with other access requirements increasing, tourism businesses need to take this into account. Otherwise, they're not going to be around for very long. So we have also a list of members and partners here, similar to the one that Andy was showing before, but we didn't quite put so many on the slide. We'd like to make accessible slides as well, so that people can hopefully read them. But this is just a scattering of those who are particularly actually on this slide. They're more to do with the national tourist boards, the bigger organizations like UN World Tourism Organization, the European Commission that we're working with quite intensively in their tourism unit, on all aspects of accessibility. So that's to do with the built environment, with transportation, with information and communication technologies, with policies for accessibility, in general and inclusion. And all of these and many more are interested in sharing their good practices. This is what attracts people to come to ENAT, is to be involved in projects and to share their best practices with others. We, just as Andy Bleeden was saying, we depend on good practices to demonstrate that you don't need to, as he said, reinvent the wheel, but we can all learn from each other and help each other up to improve the quality of tourism. So what we're really saying here is that accessible tourism is not or should not be a special kind of tourism. It's not separate from every other aspect of tourism, but is part of every kind of offer. So what we're saying is that in accommodation or adventure tourism, cultural tourism, gastronomy, etc., we would like the providers to meet the demands of the wider public, the wider visitors, guests, travelers, as you might call them. All of these, they want to come and enjoy these different kinds of tourism. Sometimes people ask me, what do people with disabilities prefer? Do they prefer the mountains or do they prefer the sea? Do they prefer the countryside or do they prefer the city? Of course, they don't prefer either. They prefer anything that anyone else does. Being someone with an access requirement it may be a category that we use in a fairly lazy, stereotypical way, but it's not a category that you can use as a tourism operator. You need to understand all your tourists if you're going to run a successful business. So what we try to point out in our trainings that we are developing and have developed in hospitality and catering, in destination management, what we try to point out is that there are opportunities here for an improvement of the quality of your tourism offer and an improvement in the way you actually serve all your customers and not just those with access requirements. So really, we're talking about actually bringing about changes in the tourism sector itself, changes in the way business is done, in the way products are developed, and the way we deliver those products to the customers. So accessible tourism is every kind of tourism. And some people have said, well, accessible tourism is just tourism. It's what tourism should be, to make it available for everyone. Now, when it comes to the senior economy, I'm just going to throw a couple of facts in front of you here. We've looked at this from the point of view of the European tourism market and done some studies a few years ago now, but these figures still hold good, that at least 1 in 5 persons in the European Union are already over 60. So we have an aging population, as I've said. Seniors in Europe take 6 to 7 trips a year, and they have the most discretionary income that can be spent on themselves, on tourism, and a lot of, well, more than 50% of the spending in tourism is by people over 50 years of age. So it's a very important market for the tourism sector. And interestingly, a lot of the older people nowadays, they look for more active and youthful experiences than they used to. So there's some transition here in the type of people and the type of holidays that they're looking for, the type of travel that they're looking for. And interestingly, the older generation takes most overseas trips, actually. So these factors all make the senior market attractive to the tourism sector. Just an interesting fact about what's sometimes called PMRs, persons with reduced mobility, or mobilité réduite. Passengers with reduced mobility are those who need assistance in an airport, and you have to announce to the airline that you will need assistance when you're coming to the airport. For example, in Europe, this is a guaranteed service in all the airports with over 100,000 passengers a year. Now, what's interesting in terms of the provision of services for these passengers is that in the past few years, the annual growth in PRM numbers is at least 6 times that of the overall rate of passenger growth at many airports globally. So people requiring assistance in airports is a very good indicator of the way tourism needs to take into account the needs of all people when they're traveling. This was a statement from the European Regions Airline Association in 2018. Now, we all know what happened since then, that because of the pandemic, some of the numbers in tourism were reduced drastically. And if we go to another slide in a moment, I'll tell you something about that. But also one more important thing about people with access requirements, with disabilities and older people, is that they tend to travel with other people. They tend to travel in groups or with their family or with their extended family and so on. And so we have this multiplier effect. So people with access requirements are also a very important market to attract because they travel in larger groups, but also the statistics show us from a number of countries that when they do travel on holiday or even for any kind of trip, they stay longer, they spend more on average, they make more repeat visits when they're satisfied with the destination and the service they get. And as we said before, they travel throughout the year. So again, this makes this sector, the silver travelers, if you like, or the senior tourists, a more interesting financial proposition for businesses. So when all that is said and done, how's it going with accessible tourism? Well, it is a huge economic opportunity. We like to portray this as a golden opportunity rather than a cost to be considered for the businesses. And of course, before the COVID-19, tourism numbers were rising, tourism receipts were growing around the world. Europe is the #1 tourism destination in the world and has retained this position actually also after COVID. And as we said, the global population is aging. So all these are pointing towards an increase in tourism, accessibility requirements. There's an increasing demand for inclusive experiences. People don't want to be left out or left behind. They want to travel and enjoy themselves. Now, as we said, there are big changes since the pandemic, and significantly, after COVID-19, businesses and destinations have understood they need to adapt the product and they need to rebuild the confidence of tourists to have them start coming back. What have they been focusing on? They've been focusing a lot on sustainability. We have the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations to guide us in the direction of economic, of environmental, and social sustainability. But also, of course, hygiene is very important, more important now than it ever was for tourism providers to show that they can provide a guaranteed service which is both hygienic, which is safe and comfortable. But also there's a greater awareness of the importance of inclusion and the diversity of our fellow travelers, of our customers. And here accessibility comes in as a strong factor as well, because better accessibility also means more safety for the customer and greater comfort. So I think we're into a good trend at the moment, that we're looking towards a more person-centered tourism, which also improves the awareness around accessibility and diversity, which enables us to give better services to the customer. So in this era that we're in now of trying to regenerate tourism, as it's called, regenerative tourism, we want to recover the tourism markets, to improve the quality and to meet the demand for higher levels of customer service, because customers really are more demanding today than they were before the pandemic. So this is a challenge that the tourism industry should meet. So I just put this slide up at the end of this short presentation, just as an indicator of the kind of things that businesses right across all our ecosystems could be thinking about in terms of contributing to the accessibility of tourism. So from whichever perspective you're coming from, I think there's something for everyone in this. it's important for the businesses themselves and the destinations working with businesses to consider ways of planning and investing in a good customer experience. Think about the website, your website. Is it accessible for people with disabilities? There are clear guidelines and standards on accessibility of websites, which if your website is not accessible, then there are anything between 15 and 25% of customers you are not reaching. So that's something very important to think about. But also it's becoming a requirement for public sector websites, and will be a requirement in the future for private websites, for businesses that are running online bookings and reservations, and all of these services will have to be accessible within a few years' time in Europe. Think about the built environment and all the facilities and services. Accessibility is required. You need to check what you have, audit your premises, audit your services, and think about the refurbishments that you're making. Make sure that they're accessible for everyone. In terms of tourism itself and the tourism experience, these offers, these products need to be created to be accessible for as many people as possible in the beginning, so that you don't have to make special adaptations for people with access requirements. Staff training is a key factor, which is very important, and also to us as a provider of advice and guidance on accessibility. We're involved in a lot of training projects through Erasmus Plus and other programs to ensure that hospitality staff are getting the right information and learning how to deal with accessibility, so that it's not a problem, but a good way to work with all your customers. And then when we come to ecosystems again, really tourism is entirely based on linking up different providers and making sure that the whole tourism value chain is accessible. So we need to think about developing partnerships and encouraging partnerships in destinations to improve the accessibility of the offers, but also to improve the customer experience. That when someone says, yes, I'm going to Lille or I'm going to any other place, they know they can get an accessible experience, not just in one hotel or in one attraction, but right across the whole destination. So this is also an indicator that we need to join things up and really take a holistic approach. And holistic approach is what ENAT is all about, to take a holistic view of how customers are treated and how businesses can succeed with an accessible tourism approach. So in the end, all businesses, all destinations should be able to welcome all customers without exception. And at the heart of this lies a good customer service. So those are the slides I wanted to present for you, and I hope this can open up to a discussion about how we can support and contribute to the Senior Eco-Nect project, and all of you who are out there listening and all of your connections. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivor. And do we have questions? There's a button raising hand at the left side, right side, sorry, of the screen, if you want to ask a question or comment on what has been said.
There's also the possibility of a chat. Should you want to write it and you're very shy and don't want to speak or don't have access to microphones for some reason. But so I think
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ivor. I think the discussion will also spice up when now we come to the question that we are going to ask our speakers and next speakers. Oh, Alenka has a raised hand, but you have to, in order to access the microphone, Alenka, you have to click the button, the icon of phone, and then they will ask again if you want headphones or microphone, because you are in headphones now. You're not able to speak through a microphone because you have to accept it. So there's an icon under the little screen, the white screen. There's an icon of a phone. You have to click it, you will exit for a second, and then you can just switch back to microphone. You can write it in the public chat if you want. That would be good.
Yeah.
We don't allow Alenka to talk. So Alenka is one of our collaborators as well, and she's a very active silver person, which I was extremely surprised.
Excuse me, can I help to Alenka in Slovene language?
Yes,
Alenka,
yes.
Alenka, me slišite? Tam imate ta logo od slušalk, pa kliknite na njega, pa izključite slušalke. Zdaj, ko boste probala, se vam mora nekje mikrofon pokazati, pa vključite mikrofon. Ne gre.
Yep, there you go.
No, zdaj imate izključen mikrofon, pa samo kliknite na mikrofon, pa se bo vključil mikrofon.
Is it okay now or not?
Perfect. Thank you, Roman.
No. Everything is on.
Yeah.
I will do through chat, so don't wait for me, sorry.
No, we hear you, we hear you. Always okay, always okay.
Sorry. Don't wait for me.
Okay.
Alenka, slišimo vas.
Oh, you do hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
good.
I was chatting with you and there was...
And I don't
we
hear
do
you
hear you.
now. Okay, what I wanted to ask Ivor is how can we help with more, let's say, tourist societies to join your ecosystem? You don't have Slovenian
Yes,
Tourist Society as your partner, and we might help that they would join you.
Yes, indeed. Well, this actually opens up the next round of questioning. In fact, we're going to talk about what we expect to get from this experience of being in the project. But also, I would say, answering also in the chat, Sarah asks about, we're interested to know what each speaker learned about other speakers' ecosystems. I think, as with any project, when you meet your partners and you find others that are similar to you, it's very good to compare and the ways in which we work and the ways that we try to engage interaction between our members. Just from the presentation that was given by Andy earlier, I can see that really we're not just talking about ecosystems as something static, but we're talking about managed ecosystems. It's a matter of bringing the right people together and helping them to work together. And very often that means sharing information about ourselves to a point where everyone can see what it is that we do, and then on a voluntary basis that people can actually meet each other and shape their own or meet their own requirements by bringing together those that they think can be useful to them. So I think the issue about what do we call it, sort of partner search and partnering is very important to the ecosystem. That ecosystems change throughout time, and sometimes you will need one kind of partner, and another time you might need 3 or 4 other kinds of partners for the project that you're involved in. So they're very dynamic, or should be very dynamic. And I think that's part of the trick, really, is to see how do we keep the dynamism in the ecosystem, because that's what gives it life. If we only continue working with those who we're used to working with, then I think we will kind of solidify or freeze. And it's very important to be open to new ideas. I think that's why most people join an ecosystem or are part of an ecosystem. They want to be exposed to new ideas and new ways of doing things. And as I said before, we call ourselves a multi-stakeholder network. And I think that's part of the secret of how we're succeeding over these 12 years to to continue to get new members, that people are always on the lookout for new ideas and ways of doing things. And I think that's something that we need to recognize and make sure that we nurture that, make sure that we build that into our management system to encourage people to keep active and keep an open mind.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Eva. And I think, Gisela, we move to the second part of the working group.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the second part, as we mentioned at the beginning, we wanted to hold a session with roundtables to say, since we consider that the stakeholders are the backbone of the ecosystems. And we wanted to have a diversity of the type of the profile of the stakeholders. Of course, there's a much more diversity. I start the waiver of this roundtable. I started first. We only have 5 speakers today to kind of keep it an active discussion. But of course, there's many more that we will of course, try to include along the project in different actions and activities. But for this one, we wanted to have an example of international stakeholders as well. So from the different regions participating in this project, but that would be representative of facilitators, users, solution providers, investors, and policymakers, or involved in the regulatory, administrative part of the different governments or public agencies that we have in our different countries. So today we have, as I mentioned, 5. So we have Ivor Ambrose, Managing Director of the European Network for Accessible Tourism. He just very actively spoke. Boris, and I'm sorry, I might have difficulties with pronouncing correctly some names, so I'm just going to say Boris without trying to be unrespectful, and you can actually then introduce completely yourself. Advisor Director of Slovenian Innovation Hub. Pablo Mosquera, from Investments Director of Unirisco. Roman Medvedev, from Project Manager from the Ljubljana Regional Development Agency. And Angel Rodriguez, from Head of Digital Transformation from Attendo, which is a social care service provider from Galicia. And Unirisco is also a private investor from Galicia. But so I explained to them the structure of the roundtable, but let me share with you again. I would like them to introduce themselves, because we did ask for small bios that we can actually put on the screen, but I think it's better that the persons themselves explain and highlight the points that they would like to consider of their participation here in this roundtable. And also because when we put slides and things that are written, we tend to read and not to look at the person and actually listen actively. So this roundtable, we set no PowerPoints, and people will be engaged in the discussion and in talking. And then we will launch 2 questions, but I don't want any particular order. I want this to be really, really honest and fluent discussion. But the 2 questions will be, like, from your perspective, what is the expectations that you have from an ecosystem? Most of you belong to an ecosystem. We all belong to ecosystem if we start considering them like a way of arranging society. So we kind of all belong to a certain ecosystem. And then the second would be all this perspective regarding this project. So what is the expectation of this project? And while preparing this, I was thinking a question that is the main question we all actually ask to our members. As the Galician Health Cluster, we of course also have an ecosystem, and we tend to ask, what are your expectations? How I can keep you engaged to follow this ecosystem and to be part of this ecosystem? And this would be the same. What do you expect from Senior Eco-Nect as a ecosystem producing project, so to say, and what do we need to do, what do they need to provide to keep you engaged? But I would add something that we've learned with our years in keeping memberships and an ecosystem alive, and it would be, what do you think the expectations of the ecosystem would be on you? Because many times we enter ecosystems, we enter a project, we enter a consortium with the expectations we have, the outcomes we want from that particular project that we are engaging with. But it's also very important to be an active member and really give back, feedback to that ecosystem. And that is a lesson learned that we have, because if there's not a bi-directional road here, the relation breaks. It's like personal and professional relations, I think, need to be nourished in both ways. So I would add to that question, and I will remind you if you're not answering, what not only are your expectations, but what do you think the rest of the ecosystem that will be accompanying you along this project expect from your input? And I think that is important, because as you were mentioning, Ivor, yes, it's a very big ecosystem, the digital health ecosystem from ACH Alliance, and we are an active member. We are an ecosystem, and Galician Health Cluster are coordinator of the ecosystem in Galicia, but it really requires an input back, and to nourish back that ecosystem to be retroactive to everybody. So with this in mind, I open the floor. If you want to use our reading order from left to right, you can introduce yourself and maybe highlight something that you would like to highlight regarding your point of view from, I consider Ivor a facilitator, but if you consider you also want to be a user here, you can also put your point on that. So if you want to introduce yourself, I will be happy, and then we will ask a question.
So I'm hogging the microphone, as it's called here, but I'll take just a moment to say that my background is actually in research in the area of the built environment on accessibility for many years. I worked in the Danish Building Research Institute for some years. Then I went to the European Commission and worked in the Directorate General, which at the time was responsible for the digital systems. It had a different name in those days, in a program for technology innovation for disabled and elderly. So I've been doing this work for over 20 years with European Commission projects as well, and then became a consultant in the early 2000s and started working on tourism from 2001, actually. So what occurred to me at that time, and it's still pretty much the same, is that when we talk about, I was very concerned about the issues to do with designing and planning both buildings, facilities, and services for people with disabilities and older people. And interestingly, the in Europe, we have focused a lot on improving the situation of people with disabilities in employment, in education, in transportation, in all kinds of areas of social life. But in leisure and tourism, very little was done actually until the early 2000s. So there were some initiatives before that, but there's been no really direct initiative with the tourism sector. So that's why we started working in this area, and why I started working in this area, and gathered some people around to start up ENAT. So that's a little bit of history from my side. I think the important thing to point out is that in terms of ecosystems and what we can bring to each other, I really think it's important that we actually demonstrate the benefits of being part of a network and an ecosystem. And so that's why a considerable part of our work is based on, as I said earlier, gathering good practices and putting these in front of anyone who wants to know what is accessible tourism about. They can come to our website at accessibletourism.org and find a catalogue of good practices, over 100 projects and good practices that have been carried out in different countries. And when we say what's a good practice, as many of you will know, in Europe, when we talk about good practices, we're very interested in transferability of some good successful practice. It's very important to see practices can be transferred across different countries, across different regions, and at the different scales as well. So it's very difficult to find something that is universally good, but we try to work on the good practices and demonstrate what makes them good. And one of the things that that I think also we bring to the senior area is the senior economy, is this notion, this practice of universal design, that we try to make the systems and the environments, the products that we work with, more suitable for everybody, rather than just working for what's called the average user and designing for the average. This is a development that's also taken place over the past 20, 25 years to work in a fashion which allows everyone to be accommodated within the solution. And I think that's an idea that could also be spread throughout the networks that we're working with now in this project and beyond. And one last thing before I hand over is to say that, of course, this project, as you said at the very beginning, Herencia, is that the idea behind this project is to start the next project in which we bring more stakeholders together and actually carry out a work plan that we're designing at the moment. So into this work plan, I think we have to bring this principle of universal design that can accommodate as many people as possible, because by doing that in the regular way of doing business and creating products and services, if you think of the wider range on the diversity of human condition, then you will automatically accommodate more people in the solutions that you come up with. So that's an important learning that we've taken from the built environment, but also in ICT and so on. These things are all coming together around the idea of the universality of solutions for the very diverse populations that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivor. That was a very nice, honest answer of the three questions, actually. So we will come back to you for sure when the other colleagues also add their points, and I'm sure we will exchange more. But next, I would like to see the perspective and the point of view of Boris, and he can actually help me pronounce correctly his surname, so I don't make any mistake. And please introduce yourself. And I know you really worked into what you want to add into these roundtables. So I'm really looking forward to hear you. You actually exchange notes with me, and I really appreciate that. From the perspective of the senior, the user. So go ahead and let us know what you expect from this project as well, and from an ecosystem to be engaged. You are not muted, but I don't seem to hear you. I don't know if the rest of the people. I don't know if you need to put the headphones if you are in the computer, or I don't know if you have your audio set up in a way. No, I don't hear you. Do you want us to jump into Pablo and maybe try to solve the technical issue? Let me see. You have. No, I don't hear you. I cannot hear you. Maybe Alenka, that he was assisting you, she could actually give you a hand in Slovenian, because it seems that yeah. So maybe we go to Pablo. We jump a second, Boris. Is that fine? We're gonna jump a second to Pablo Mosquera. So you can introduce yourself, Pablo. Maybe. Actually, I wanted to say a big thank you to Pablo. Pablo is from Galicia, but he's also, he has helped us in our previous project, also related to better acceptance and adoption of digital tech solutions for senior and as a private investor. And so I really appreciate he's always helping and giving some feedback. So we are happy that you are also part of this roundtable today, Pablo.
Thank you, Gisela. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Gisela, for inviting us to this table. Well, I'm a little bit introduction. I'm economist. My background was always linked to the innovation and research, from business consultancy to business development in healthy startups and tech transfer in research in a research center. Now I'm the chief investment officer at Unirisco. Unirisco is a venture capital created as an instrument for the valorization and the transfer of the results from the university and research centers to the market. We invest in science, we invest in technology-based startups and spin-offs with disruptive products and technologies that we consider they will generate the industry of tomorrow. We transform the knowledge of the research of the university into successful business through capital investment and strategic support. Our partners, and this is important, are the 3 universities of the Galicia region, but also the main big corporates here in our region. They are institutions committed to the value creation from science. We almost have the triple helix as investors. No? Our investment strategy is oriented towards startups from Spain and Portugal in pre-seed and seed stages. We are agnostic to any sector or business model, but we seek profitable investments, but also generate open innovation for our investors, and also make responsible investments in accordance of our mission. Regarding the first question, Gisela, from our point of view as investors, the silver economy is one of the macro consumer trends that we see most interesting today. According to the United Nations, in just 15 years, the population over 65 years in some of the largest, the big economies will exceed the 40% of the total. This will be more accentuated in countries with higher per capita income. So older people will be the engine of the economy of the future. And for an investor like us, this is a huge market and a huge opportunity. So it's necessary to generate ecosystems that integrate all the actors involved in solving these emerging needs, this emerging trend, and responding to the problems of this segment of population. In addition, the scope of silver economy covers both innovation in healthcare services and the development of new products based on science or biotechnology, for example. This creates a complex regulatory environment that needs to be addressed in order to accelerate the market fit of these solutions. No? And the development of these ecosystems dedicated to silver and aging economy is key to adapting to the change as quickly as possible. That's why I think it's so important to foster synergies between innovation players at local, national, or European level, as Senior Eco-Nect will do. Regarding the other question, as investors, it's an obligation for us to be connected to the needs of the market. Even more in the field of silver economy, with so many synergies with our mission as investors in science or technology. In addition, the development of technologies appropriate to the needs of silver economy will require agility among the different actors and investment that accelerates the development of the products and the market fit. No? As investors, we are clear that our role is necessary to resolve and accelerate this change. Fostering innovation implies investment, and we can help startups in the scaling of the solutions. We constantly see needs in our investees, in our startups that can be addressed in projects like this. For example, the need to create regulatory sandboxes or living labs to testing medical devices or product in this field. And that's why we are happy to participate in this forum and be in contact with all of you for future collaborations. Of course, we will follow the project next month. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Pablo. I don't know if Boris, did you manage to get it, your audio from the computer, or should we give you a little bit more time? No, So now you're muted, but when you are unmuted, so now your microphone is active for the platform, but it depends how you have embedded in your computer. If you have it for microphone, external, internal microphone, we don't hear you. So sometimes it's easier if you actually access through the phone, because that would be, for sure your phone will be active. It works, but we don't. Yeah, Alenka tells me it works, but we don't hear it. I don't know if it's only me, but I believe that the rest cannot hear
No,
you.
we don't hear you.
No.
I suggest we go ahead.
Okay.
And maybe we leave Boris for some next workshop.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we are spending too much time for
no.
technical problems. And he did have a workshop in the morning, and he said everything was okay.
Yeah,
but
maybe
now it seems it does not work.
Yeah. So Boris, I won't lose the hope. So I will ask you not to leave us. I will hope that you try and come out in and out. Sometimes this happens, the IT people always say off and on. So let's try the IT experts, and please don't lose the hope until the end. So if you can go out and get in, we will hope to be able to talk with you, because you had a very nice presentation. Okay, so we're gonna move on with Roman. Yeah, so please introduce yourself. Oh, you're muted, but
unmute.
Up to now it works. So okay.
Okay, thank you very much for invitation to this workshop. Just a short representation from my side. As you see, I'm coming from Regional Development Agency of Ljubljana Urban Region. Ljubljana is the capital of Slovenia. And as a development agency, we cover around Ljubljana, 25 municipalities, around 500,000 of population. And we work on a lot of different issues. And when I listen to the colleague from Eurosante, quite a lot of similarities between us, our development agency, and their agency. So it could be one of the opportunity to exchange some practice from our side, but we are quite smaller than Lille, and we could learn a lot of stuff from them, because our agency is only 20 years from establishment. They work from almost 100 years. On the other side, I'm here in the two different roles. The first role is as a member of Regional Development Agency. The second is that I'm president of Slovenia Network for Rural Development. Our members are mostly local action groups and other different people and institutions who deal with rural development. I don't know how much you are familiar regarding local action groups. They are funded by European Agriculture Fund and Regional Fund, and the principle is to prepare strategies and develop projects from bottom-up principles, small local projects on different levels. And local action groups are consisted from three different sectors: public, private, and NGOs. So it's quite a kind of ecosystem for local rural development. So for us is from both my side as Regional Development Agency and as Network for Rural Development, this project is for me interested because as I can say, these senior issues are very important for our region on one side, and for Slovenia on rural part too, because population in Slovenia is at the top on the regarding the EU level. We are the older nation in Europe, and we don't have a lot of solutions how to deal with it. And such projects are important for us, especially as I saw this from service question. What kind of services could we provide for older people, for senior people, and so on? But if I maybe tackle the first question, what are our expectations, or my expectations regarding Senior Eco-Nect? I check the objectives you put in your projects. And especially for me are interested the second, the third, and the fourth objectives, which are talking. If I put the second objective first, where you say that ensuring inclusiveness and interconnectivity between key innovation players. This is very important for us as regional development agency and rural network, because we have a lot of different players, and we have to put all these players together if you want to find the solutions, proper solutions for elder people. And this is sometimes it's not easy to bring together these players. We have quite a lot of experience because when you start a project and when you put together different interests, different people, in the beginning there is a lot of enthusiasm. But after, when you start to work, some people doesn't find themselves in the projects and so on, and at the end is sometimes questionable. This partnership is still alive or not. So we have to do a lot on this field. The next, the third objective is synergy between Senior Eco-Nect joint action plan, which we had to prepare, and then innovation programs of public authorities. I think this is for us very important, because in our region, and we finished a few months ago, not too long aside, new innovation strategy for our region in next period. So it's the proper time to put together action plan of the project and our innovation strategy, and find out what is the best for us and what is the best for the project in a wider sense. And the next is the fourth objective, efficiency and innovation potential of circular economy. As I said in the beginning, for us is more important how to prepare, how to innovate a new services for older people, not only products. Because we have in Slovenia, we have a lot of small projects regarding new services, but on the small level, local level. And a lot of times when there is a lack of money, lack of people, these services are stopped, and we have to find a kind of formal solution how these services will be on the place for the long time. And this is one of the questions which are for us important. Okay, this is for the first question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having the care to look at the objectives of Senior Eco-Nect and actually really thoroughly analyzing your interest in the project as a part of part of strategy development and etc. I think I agree completely, and that's why the ecosystem require different stakeholder profiles, because many times the regulation, also the idea, then there's the funding, and then there's the needs as well, and all this has to be combined together with the potential of the industry to give a response to these needs. So I think I am hoping that you will remain engaged for the whole project and participate in the construction of this action plan, because it's actually, you just put it bluntly and obviously, that is very important to align all these strategies of innovation that are coming up with the speed of the innovation that is appearing, and together with the needs, no, that Pablo was also mentioning. The needs have to be responded by the services and products. Actually, I'm very happy that you are looking forward for services, because other regions are more prone to have services, and some other regions are more prone to have products, and our region in particular is more for services. So I'm really happy that we're going to be able to give some ideas there. And on this note, I go to Angel Rodriguez, head of digital transformation of Attendo, which actually is a service provider in social care. So I'm very interested in that he can share his perspective.
Thank you so much, Gisela. Do you listen me?
Okay, yeah, we hear you. We hear you.
Okay, so thank you so much for the invitation to be here. First of all, I am a software engineer. I studied in Santiago de Compostela University, and I recently finished an executive master's in digital management, and that's why I am now the head of digital transformation in Attendo. I've been working here since the last three years, and my main goal in the company is to make it more technological and more agile, using technologies and digital tools. So in this context, Attendo is a service provider, as Gisela told us, and we provide services to the older adults throughout home care services in all the region of Galicia, northwest, which is in the northwest of Spain. And we also, a part of home care services, we also offer senior living apartment to older adults that are independent, but we provide them with basic professional care to do the companionship to these people. And we also have daycare centers, nursing homes all around the region of Galicia. And of course, our company is very committed to fight against ageism, and that's why we launched the university chair to fight alongside AFAGA, which is an association here in Galicia, and we are trying to fight against ageism with a lot of actions. And regarding to the questions of the workshop, the first one, our expectations here are very related with the current situation in Galicia in terms of aging, because Galicia, as a lot of people should know, is a very, very old nation, because we have some ratios around the 30% of people plus 65 years old. So with this context, we are facing a lot of challenges with our aging population. And this situation creates a lot of problems to solve, as you all were discussing, like the accessible tourism, the ageism, social inclusion, or how to active and healthy aging. So with this in mind, we all have the responsibility to face this situation with solutions. And from this project, we hope we could get easy access to the ecosystem with key stakeholders and get access to good practices, and of course sharing knowledge between all of us, because it's very, very important. And that's why it makes perfect sense for Galicia to prepare this scenario of longevity, and we strongly believe this ecosystem of collaborations all over Europe is very necessary and strategic. And regarding to the second question, why we would be engaged to follow the project, the objectives of this project by itself already motivates us, of course. We would like to have access to key players and generate synergies with them. But the point is that we have been working in the silver economy market for 23 years, and we believe that this is the moment in which the greatest changes in the sector has to take place. It has to be in these coming years, and this requires a big effort and maximum commitment from all the stakeholders. We are not comfortable with the current situation. We will be older adults in a near future, and we have to prepare the best possible scenario for when we reach that age. And we are in a decade that is essential for changes. Everything goes very, very fast, and we have to take advantage of all the opportunities and economical helps and calls from Europe. And we think there is an opportunity to create resources, solutions suitable for the next generation. So answering the question, there is no greater commitment for us than working for our future and thinking that we will be the ones to enjoy it. And regarding to your last question, Gisela, of course, with the knowledge of Fatendo, I think we should bring our knowledge and our good practices to the ecosystem, and of course the opportunity to test the solutions and the final results of this project, to try to test it here in our city, with our customers, and it would be a pleasure to do that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Angel. In fact, one of the milestones that when Caroline said milestones, so that means we have to really deliver it. One of the milestones of this project is generating a silver economy product and service map. So we will have a very beautiful European map in the Senior Eco-Nect web that we already, now it's hidden. But and we will also launch the possibility of kind of a marketplace where people can actually indicate either the entity itself that provides products or services for a silver economy, or a project in particular that they want to highlight in the silver economy map. So this will be soon, and that means that Attendo can be in this map actually, and that Roman can see Attendo in this map. So and many other providers. So that will be in the near future, and around the mid of this year, it will be fully launched in the website. So I think we definitely. Oh, Boris, I see him.
Wow!
I see him with a microphone on. I don't know if you try to speak, Boris, and we might hear you.
He joined again. Otherwise, I can provide some information.
No, I think he was trying, but no. Maybe you can provide. I was asking Alenka to jump in. So we have Alenka can introduce herself really quickly, and she can share a bit of the information, because I really, really love what Boris put together for this roundtable, and I would like that she can share it for us.
Okay. Hello, everybody. On behalf of Boris, he's our advisor and a well-experienced person, and he would like to stress 2 points. First of all, that there is over 30% of old people in the world, and this is somehow more than the young ones. This is in Europe, this is changing now. And the second thing is that the elderly, or the silver people, as Gisela said previously, should be aware of that they should be more connected. They should work together, and also kind of warn the governments. Some countries have ministry for elderly in their composition, but most of the governments are not aware that this is really a strong part. It's a lot of voters also. In Slovenia, it's over 630,000 people who are retired, and a lot of them is not active. And this is a big power. It is a big buying power also. as I already mentioned, and we all know, but the whole society is not aware of it. I'm sure that Boris would put it much better, but these are the two things which have to be kept in mind. And in Slovenia, we are trying to animate or engage retired researchers or professors. We are creating a senior expert base, and these people can be then mentors to the startup companies or to students, because if they live close to the campus, they could be also active. And this is two-way win-win, because they are still active, they keep active, and they have more years of happy life. On the other hand, working with younger is keeping them mentally active, and also it gives them the purpose, because if the person gets into retirement and stops working at all and starts living a new life, which is maybe not so stressful, soon the consequences show, because people do not feel useful after a while. First, maybe they are tired, but then after a while, they don't feel so useful anymore. And this is the cause of degrading their zest for life, I would say, if I can use this word. And we have to be careful, and we have to help the society to stay in touch, youngs and older ones. And there is a lot of wisdom in silverheads, and we should be helping them to also to exchange this tacit knowledge and the wisdom, of course. Maybe we'll do it in near future, maybe in a little bit longer future, but this is what is a big task ahead of us. And also to clear the heads of our governments that this is very, very important issue. I would not continue now, because I can talk for long hours, and you don't want me to do that. But whenever we are co-working and sharing experience and seeing what others are doing, these such projects like Senior Eco-Nect are very important, because we do not duplicate our activities, but we can pick where on some point where some other country already achieved something, and then we could upgrade that and develop further. And this would all of us help to proceed faster. So these projects are really facilitators, and we are happy to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. In fact, I reading the notes of Boris and listening to you, Alenka, I have to say that there's a lot of hope, in the sense that these projects are facilitators, but also put together different stakeholders that are conscious of the same problems and can join in the trying to provide the same, not the same or different solutions, but to tackle the same problems. It's very interesting, because when reading Boris' note, and it's totally Boris' material, it's not mine. I can see that he mentioned what Angel mentioned also at some point, the concept of ageism and the stereotyping seniors as old people maintained by society. That this is really changing, and it's not only changing, but the other countries and many organizations are conscious about it. We have different organizations that Angel was mentioning, AFAGA and Attendor, together in a in a crusade, I will say, almost to really break this silo. But also they are collaborating with people from Portugal and of course other countries that are also trying to do activities, to really reduce the stereotyping. Stereotypes will always exist, I guess, but actually reducing it. Age balance among employees, discrimination in credit access based on the banks, right? Even insurance for trips. No, I don't know maybe Ivor, I think he had to leave, but one of the questions always is that you actually cannot buy insurance for traveling if you are over 72 sometimes. So
Well,
now with all this, so it's incredible. Like I was actually purchasing insurance because now after COVID, traveling to many countries, you actually require the insurance of COVID just to make sure that you are not going to spend too long or too much there in a hospital there, and that they make sure they can pay for it. They don't do it if you're over 72. So that actually blocks you completely for traveling if you're over 72. So it's completely discriminating. And actually it's very interesting because there's also not only a passive idea of the seniors, but also an active. So what are the contributions they can give? And you know, like they should also support and accelerate this process. And it's a responsibility of everybody, no? If you want to change something, don't only complain, but actually do something. So he had a very beautiful input. Boris, if you're listening to me, I really love the notes.
One more thing. Boris mentioned that if you are you cannot get a loan in a bank if you are over 65.
Yeah, no, cannot. No.
And this is really very wrong. So the society should get aware of the purchasing power of elderly also. Exactly. If we put it bluntly, not to mention other benefits which they can get. And these people have built the society the way it is. And the young ones do not know it. They forgot it. Or they don't know it, the young ones. So
yeah, so that is important. Also, be more present in the media, be more present in the normal life. That's also, there are more radio programs, there are more TV programs there, and actually reducing the stereotype of you know, all this dependent only this part of the silver economy. And that's why in the project we have ENAT and EPSI also. So this tourism and sport is a very important sector that combines in the lives person, no? And overall, don't forget we are talking about people, and Angel, some of the project partners are silver already, so they are already there. I'm not going to mention that. And actually, when Alenka told me her age, I actually couldn't believe it. And I told her, show me your passport. So she showed me the passport in an airport. So it was amazing. And our since my director is not present, I can say it, although this is going to be recorded. But so our president, our responsible of the CSG, she's over 65. And she's been extending her retirement in order to be still active part of society, not only in CSG, but also in the government, in the Ministry of Health. So there are people, of course, that we can all input and you know, put into society back and into Senior Eco-Nect for sure. So Angel, as you are very young, but soon you will say we are the ones who are there. But what they want. When I go to many of the talks, is no, because senior want. At the end, it's like we want. At the end is it's a present tense. So yeah, I want to thank everybody of you. Roman, I don't know if you felt that you didn't answer the second question because so maybe you want to be given the opportunity to answer the second question. That will keep you engaged.
Yeah, but I think that when I spoke, I spoke about everything, so you could proceed with your.
Okay. No, so no, it's just in case, because you said I answered the first question, so I just wanted to make sure you didn't have anything left. So from my side, I don't know if anybody has any other question or discussion for it. I'm very happy of having had our members of the roundtable and of course the first part of the speakers as well. I am really sorry not to have Boris' voice today, although we saw him for a while. But I'm thanking Lenka for interceding for him. And I want to pass back to Caroline, our leader from Eurosenior. So if you want to make the closure of the webinar, I will.
Yeah, maybe just to tell you that one way to keep keep contact with us and with the project is to register to the newsletter of Senior Eco-Nect and to know, for example, when we will launch the mapping, as Gisela explained. And one other task is to analyze the strengths and the weaknesses of each region. So maybe one of the partners of the project will contact you again to have a more in-depth exchange on what would be needed, for example, or what would be the opportunities in the silver economy. And well, yes, register to the newsletter, and it was really a pleasure to have this chat today, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.